We are going to be working on our color worksheet today. So you should have watched the video online, just a quick overview of colors here. We've got our primary colors, that's our red, our yellow, and our blue. And from those three colors that make this triangle on the color wheel, we can make all of the other colors on the color wheel by mixing them in different ways. So we're going to take a look at that, and actually the first thing I'm going to have you guys do is jump into making this actual color wheel over here on this side. So I've got my red right here at the top. I'm going to start with my red. Now your colored pencils in our classroom should have a little chart like this. If you don't see a chart in there, try to find one that does. It's going to give you all of our color wheel colors written in bold and much larger than some of the other colors are written. So you do want to make sure you're grabbing the correct colors for this, because it is important to really have that clear visual of each color. So my red is actually number 8. So I'm going to find number 8 colored pencil here and make sure that I'm using the exact colors. So I'm going to go ahead and color in my red here. And then you'll also color in your yellow and your blue. Those are your primary colors. From those three colors though, we can make all the other colors on the color wheel. So the next set of colors we're going to do are our secondary colors. Those are our two primary colors mixed together. They are the two primary colors right next to each other. So for example, my red and my yellow are going to give me my orange. So you can see over here, red and yellow gives me orange. In fact, it's going to make all of these variations of orange. Red orange, regular orange, and yellow orange. So I'm just going to do my secondary colors right now. Those make this upside down triangle on your color wheel. So I'm going to be making orange, violet, and green. Violet and purple, those names are interchangeable. In our everyday language, we tend to say purple, but violet is actually the correct color term. So I'm finding those colors and coloring those in. So for example, red and yellow in the middle here is going to give me orange. Does not need to be really neat or pretty when you're doing this. Worksheets are just required work to see that you know how to do it. So yes, we've got that color there, and I do want you to label these as well. In between my red and my blue, red, blue, I'm going to have my purple or my violet. And in between my blue and my yellow, I'm going to have my green. So I've got my violet, blue, yellow, green. You can pause this video here and complete the rest of your color wheel. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these other ideas. So one of the things they gave you here is the tints and the shades. Now when we get into our value unit, you're going to learn more about tints and shades, but when we're doing tints and shades in color, we really want to be mixing white and black into those colors. So what you're going to do is find this middle box right above starting color. This is whatever color you want it to be, except stay away from my yellows. They're just a little bit harder to see the color change if you're using yellow. I'm going to go ahead and jump in with some blue, I think. So I'm going to say the blue is my starting color, and I'm just coloring this color kind of a medium value here, right in the middle of my color wheel, which means I'm going to layer it a couple times to build up that color value. I don't want to just press down too much harder because I like my colors nice and smooth, so this is good practice for doing smooth coloring. Okay, and now on this side I want it to gradually get lighter, and on this side I want it to gradually get darker. I can do that two ways. I can do that by still shading, so I'm mixing this and I'm going to make this all the same at first. And then I'm going to go back over it and start to make it get a darker value. I'm going to go ahead and go all the way across here. make these values darker than what I have here because that's kind of my medium. Now I'm going to add different amounts of black to this to get these shades to really stand out. I'm going to put even more on this one with my blue, a little bit more on this one so that's kind of gradually getting darker. But then I'm going to go ahead and start my mixing. So I'm going to add a little bit of black into this. We don't want it to take over. Okay, this one is a little less black, a little less black, a little less black. Okay, now this is going to be the same thing on this side, transitioning lighter, and we're going to mix some white into that. Now the white's a little bit harder to see as I'm mixing this in. I already have it on here. I really am going to have to press down pretty hard to get that white to blend in. This is actually called burnishing when you press pretty hard with colored pencil. And you can see it is a little bit lighter. It goes to my kind of medium value and then goes to my darker values or my shades. So that's our first box there. You can pause this video and then continue shading in on your own and come back and hit play when you're ready. So our next thing we're going to do is really show how these secondary colors are made so we can sort of have a visual chart that we can refer back to. So we're looking at each one of our secondary colors here. Remember, we've got it labeled here on our front. So secondary colors, they make this dotted line around here. So again, my violet, my orange, my green. And I'm going to figure out how these are made. So what plus what equals orange? We're going to do orange here. So what plus what equals orange? So I'm going to look at my color wheel. It's the two primary colors that are closest to it. So if I'm here at orange, red orange is not primary. Red is primary. So red, yellow orange is not primary. Yellow is primary. So red plus yellow gives me orange. So that's how I'll complete the chart. Red plus yellow gives me orange. You don't have to mix them in here. You can just color the actual secondary color. For my purple or violet, red plus blue gives me my purple or violet. My last secondary color, my green, see if you can figure out what two primary colors are going to make green. Pause it here and finish that chart. Our next colors are called tertiary colors, which are also called intermediate colors. Mr. Magnata and I tend to use the term intermediate. And they mean the same thing. I just think it's a slightly easier word to say. But you'll see it written in both terms in different places. So it's good to know it means the same thing. An intermediate color or tertiary color is simply a primary color and a secondary color mixed together. So for example, my red plus my orange is going to give me my red orange. Okay? Red plus orange gives me red orange. So when you're making a color wheel, it has to be in this precise order. You can start in a different color. So I could have started and my color wheel could be this way. Doesn't matter which way it's turned. But next to yellow is always yellow orange and always yellow green, because it works like an answer key. It allows you to be able to see exactly what colors make what colors and how they relate to each other in other terms as well, which we're going to go into in a moment. So just like I just did for this one, you're going to do the same thing down here to make just 3 of the intermediate colors. There are actually 6 of those colors. So tertiary colors is written over here on your color wheel paper example. It's 1 primary color plus 1 secondary color mixed together. So this is an example here, my yellow orange, and then you can follow this line around to each of your intermediate colors: red orange, red violet, blue violet, blue green, yellow green. Okay, those are my intermediate or tertiary colors. And again, pick 3 of those and show what the color equation would be. So this could be my red plus my orange is going to give me red orange. Find that color, color that in. Do 2 more of your intermediate colors, and again, go ahead and pause this and then come on back when you're ready. Okay, so we have 2 more sets of colors, and these are called color schemes. A color scheme is simply a way that colors go together in a picture. So one type of color scheme is analogous colors. Analogous colors are simply side by side on the color wheel, and they also share a color in common. So for example, my blue violet, blue, and blue green all have blue in them, so they are analogous. I can go anywhere between any 2 primary colors, and I will always find analogous colors. So between my yellow and my red, yellow, orange, orange, red, orange, all analogous. They all have orange in them, but to make orange, that means they all have yellow in them and they all have red in them. So I could include one of the primary colors as well and still consider that analogous. I wouldn't want to include both of those primary colors, but you can go up to 4 colors and use those as analogous. So you're just going to color in one example of analogous colors here. So my example could simply be my yellow orange, and my red orange if I want to, or you can pick any of the other combinations side by side and share one color in common. Go ahead and pause the video and complete that. Our last set of colors we're learning today are complementary colors. Complementary colors are colors that are opposite from each other on the color wheel. So we have to go straight through the center of the color wheel. So they're located across from each other, but it's actually directly opposite. So you have to be able to go from one side of the color wheel to the opposite side, always kind of going through the center. So one example of complementary colors is red and green. They are completely opposite from each other on the color wheel. I'm going to show you one more kind of cool way to figure out opposites or complementary colors. When you have opposite colors, you end up with all 3 primary colors. So right here in my markers, I've got yellow, red, and blue. Those are my primary colors. So again, if I want to know what is the opposite or complement of red, I'm going to take this away right here, and I'm going to see I have blue and yellow left over. Blue and yellow make green. So my red and my green are opposite colors because it's the missing primary color that comes in. It's the complete opposite. It's the thing it's missing from those 3 primary colors. Okay, so my primary color is always going to be opposite a secondary color. An intermediate color, yellow orange over here, will always be opposite another intermediate color. So just a way to double check that you're on the right track and going straight through the center. So orange is the opposite of blue. Purple is the opposite of yellow. Yellow-green is the opposite of red-violet. Okay, so you're going to color your circles in over here on the right-hand side with at least 3 sets of complementary colors. Go ahead and pause your video, and then your worksheet will be complete and you can bring it to be checked. We've got a few more things I want to point out down here at the bottom of our worksheet. So we have a hue is just the name of a color. So I might say, what hue are you working with instead of what color are you working with? So examples are green, blue, green would be another example. Not really, turquoise isn't a name from the color wheel, or red. Value. Value is how light or dark a color is. So we did our value scale up here on our worksheet. So that's referring to this down here. A shade is simply a darker color of a darker version of a color by adding black to it, which we did here in our chart. And a tint is a lighter version of a color by adding white to it, which we did here in our chart. Intensity, how vivid or bright or rich a color is. So one thing I just want to point out, I'm going to do this just down here on the side of my worksheet to show you this real quickly. A way to dull down the intensity of a color is to use your complementary colors, okay? So I can use my complementary colors here and mix them to create a dulled down version. I've got a nice bright blue right here. And it's interesting because I can take orange, which we think of as a bright color, and I can color orange over this blue, and it's actually going to almost make it look brownish or grayish. Look at that. So we can change the color's intensity by adding its complement. So that is one of the ways that complementary colors are important. Okay, and that almost looks like a brownish or a gray down here because of mixing those complementary colors. Okay guys, let me know if you have any questions and then check this in with me when you're done.